Switching sides. Okay. Now, I speak with the invisible American accent, albeit with a lisp. It's the accent you hear everywhere but can't place. It's the accent that national news anchors and TV personalities use. In other words, it's a plain, boring, unaccented Midwestern American English. Now, they say the single greatest influence on a person's accent is not their parents' manner of speaking, but that of their friends when they are children. Yet somehow I managed to buck that statistic. While my friends growing up spoke with either a strong East Texas nasal drawl or occasionally a clipped Spanish accent, I managed to keep the boring, some might say, correct, grammar my parents taught me. Now, as Midwestern educators raising a child in the South, and particularly as Mexican-American Midwestern educators who had worked hard to speak both unaccented Mexico City Spanish and unaccented Midwestern English, they were wary of their son picking up what they considered to be the less desirable, irregular East Texanisms. As such, they tried to teach me both languages in their most universal form, and so I was taught from an early age that ain't a word. And y'all was unacceptable. You should be pronounced like the letter, and ya was also unacceptable. In fact, growing up, it was often noted, sometimes well-intentioned and sometimes not, how white I sounded. I give my parents all the credit for trying their best, but I can't help wondering what it would have been like to not have sounded quite so formal as a child. I guess all people can give is what they have to give. Between the ages of 2 and 4, I went to the Heights Day Nursery for daycare. The head instructor there for the 4-year-olds was a wonderful woman from New Iberia, Louisiana, named Miss Gale, who spoke using the rich tapestry of regional colloquialisms and irregular forms you might expect. However, when I came home saying y'all, my parents rather heavy-handedly reminded me that the correct form of y'all was just you, just like the letter in the alphabet, which, by the way, I had just learned. Now, armed with this information, I went back to the daycare the next day, and as soon as Miss Gale used the forbidden word, I pounced. No! I loudly declared to her in the class, and I then proceeded to inform her and everyone else that y'all was incorrect, and that the correct word was you, like the letter, and flourished my hand in a wide, sweeping U shape to emphasize the point. She smiled kindly and asked me to sit down. I don't really remember what happened at the nursery the rest of the day, though I suspect it was the usual routine of playing in the giant playground, nap time, and lunch in the little cafeteria that so distinctly and perpetually smelled like cooked or microwaved ketchup that to this day I am immediately transported back there as soon as I smell it. In any case, that evening over dinner, I proudly told my parents about how I had corrected the Miss Gale when she used the offending y'all. After a brief pause, my mortified parents then proceeded to try to explain to their 4-year-old in the most simplified yet nuanced way that Miss Gale was from Louisiana, where they speak with a different dialect, and then one shouldn't try to tell other people how to speak. I, of course, mentioned that I made the protest that my parents told me how to speak all the time, upon which I was reminded that that was different. While dropping me off the next day at the nursery, my father sheepishly apologized to Miss Gale for my correcting her, and they both had a good laugh about it. About a month later, I stayed up with my father to watch the ABC 13 Friday night movie at 10 o'clock. It was a classic, Old Yeller. Soon after the titular Yeller dog was introduced, I noted to my parents that they were pronouncing it wrong and that it should be Old Yellow. My father again gave an as simplified yet nuanced explanation as he could to a 4-year-old regarding the differences in pronunciation in different parts of the country, and that particularly in case of artistic and literary situations, the irregularity was acceptable. But that yes, technically, I was correct. And that technically I was correct in that it should be pronounced Old Yellow. And like a good father, proceeded to give me the appropriate praise and recognition for recognizing as such. He also comforted me at the end of the movie when I bawled my eyes out. If you haven't seen the movie, I hope that someone is there for you to do the same when you do. And this was the ebb and flow of me doing my best to navigate the American received pronunciation and keep my English as unaccented and unremarkable as my nasal and lispy speech would allow. Now, fast forward about 25 years and find me in the kitchen with my father while I rummage through the kitchen looking for something to snack on. I opened the refrigerator and looked to see what I could find. My father told me that if I wanted, there was a Pyrex container in the back with some old Jell-O. I stopped, steeled myself for the kill, turned to him with a wry grin and reminded him that in these parts, we call it Old Jeller.